Welcome to Talk of the Block. I am your host, Chris Conscious. Over the last 2 years, we have been living in a constant state of fear. COVID-19 has threatened our health and our lives in many ways. The question is, how long will this last? My answer, when the citizens of this country say enough is enough. We've been locked down, shut down, prevented from participating in regular day-to-day tasks, all because of the fear of the deadly coronavirus. At least that's what we were told. Week after week, month after month, we have been told what we should do to help end this pandemic, and that information has been consistently changing at every turn. What we were told is now false information, and the people who gave us this said false information get a pass, while those who question get censored. What should we believe? Is this pandemic really about our health? We have lost 2 years of our life over something our scientists and government still can't understand, for God's sake. On top of that, we are no closer to understanding this virus than 2 years ago. So why all of these measures to curb the virus? It seems like everything they're doing and imposing on the citizens amount to no change and no steps towards the fight to end this virus. People are transmitting this virus more and more today than they were 2 years ago. But yet, we have a vaccine. Just look at the data. It's right on the CDC website. They infused the vaccine with RNA technology, but yet studies are coming out that natural immunity seems to be more effective. Yet, if you add the vaccine, then supposedly even better. But who knows what to believe in this day and time? We've had real options that became fake news and fact-checked to be false, although many people found therapeutic solutions to be more effective in the fight against coronavirus. We traded freedom for 2 weeks of shutdown and mask mandates and 4 doses of vaccines that don't work. And on top of that, the loss of jobs and businesses. All for a virus that the numbers show is less dangerous than the seasonal flu. Now, don't shoot the messenger. These numbers are all on the CDC site. This leads me to the question. Are the solutions imposed by the government really saving lives and fighting this coronavirus? It doesn't seem like it. We have shut down life-changing medical procedures just to fight COVID. So how are we saving lives? We have shunned therapeutics that has been proven beneficial towards helping with the COVID virus in favor for a vaccine that the CDC has recently shared doesn't do much towards aid. Here's what I think. I've been saying since 2020, when the coronavirus was first introduced, that this virus will be used to push a political agenda and obviously to make some people rich. Articles in Forbes has proven that, as well as the push to usurp freedom. We can't deny that there are some questionable actions taken by our leaders that are moving us towards a tyrannical state. Is that on purpose? Take California and New York, for example. You can't even eat or drink in a restaurant and bars without a vaccine passport. Does this not raise questions for you? And in some cases, having the paper passport may not be good enough. You will need a smartphone with a QR code. How is this helping? How are we fighting to rid ourselves from this virus by allowing the vaccinated, who can still spread the virus, by the way, eating and drinking while discriminating against those who are unvaccinated? How does this save lives? In a minute, I'm going to speak on this candidly, but I ran across an article in The Intercept Voice entitled "Vaccine Passports Are Here to Stay. Why Worry?" This was written by Judith Levine. Before I read some interesting passages, let me say this. reviewing the science about the vaccines and considering the conflicting information that we're getting, not knowing what is true about this vaccine, I don't see how these passports are helping with ridding us of COVID-19. Now, if all this information is true, and if this information is true, according to many articles, COVID is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. We're not getting rid of anything. So tell me, how are vaccine passports useful? The only use I see that these vaccine passports are good for is to track their test subjects and discriminate against those who do not have the vaccine. Now, I'm going to speak really candid about the vaccine passports. I'm not going to read the whole article in its entirety because I don't want any copyright infringement or anything, but I'm going to just kind of pull out some things that I think is rather interesting when it comes to these vaccine passports. First of all, my opinion on them, they're not necessary unless you're trying to push this ideal of a tyrannical state, or if you're trying to push an ideal of discriminatory practices. And I'm sorry, this is what it leads. If we want to talk about systematic racism, these passports set up the ability to create a systematic racist thing. Now, mind you, I would never say that these passports are a system of racism, because that's not what laws are. According to some people, I'm going to say some people, I had a whole discussion about systematic racism. Systematic racism is this obscure thing that's not necessarily a written law, but it's practices handed down from person to person, which to me, okay, if that's what it is, that's just racist people. So now you're basically telling me you're trying to fight racist people, because in today's time, we don't have any racist laws, but we do have laws that help establish people doing racist things. But then again, anybody can use anything to be racist. So I don't even want to go there, but this does set up a framework for it to be that. So I will agree with that. So these vaccine passports, first of all, let's understand what they are first. Okay, here's what the article is explaining what they are. This is what it says: the digital COVID vaccine certification or passport is a mobile app which instantaneously affirms the vaccinated status, COVID testing results, birth date, gender, and other identifiers of its holder. The information is usually mosaic in a QR code, reading the proprietary scanner and linked to the government registry. Interesting. Link to the government registry. This is one of the reasons why people keep saying this is like a precursor to the mark of the beast. Because it's a funny thing, because you people think, I'm going to say you people think that the mark of the beast is going to be something all of a sudden, boom, here's the mark of the beast. No, they have to set the framework for that system to be even introduced. First of all, creating a national registry of people who comply with orders. Don't this seem like that's what it is? They can literally identify who doesn't have it, who complied, and who didn't comply. And we see throughout the news how they're trying to make people who don't like, or they're calling the people who don't want to take the vaccine anti-vax, and then calling them terrorists and all this stuff. You see the whole trucking incident that's going on in Canada, how they're fighting against the mandates. The vaxxed and the unvaxxed are fighting against the mandates and fighting for their freedoms to work. But we want to make them into terrorists, like they're wrong for wanting freedom. See what I mean by it sets it up? It sets it up. Now, we already know that California, New York already have there's 30 states that have already rolled them out, and there's about 20 states who do not use them. New York being one of them, California being one of them, Louisiana being one of them. The Biden administration announced last spring that it would wrangle them under the national standards, but so far hasn't done it. Internationally, the EU and a growing number of countries are adopting them for regimes like Braham to the democracies like Denmark. I'm sorry, couldn't get all that out. But so we're seeing how these passports being used all around the world. I got to scan my passport to go in somebody's restaurant to eat. So far, they haven't done it in grocery stores or places where you take takeout. They're not doing it for takeout in some places. But other places like Canada, and I know that's not our country, but whatever happens in the world will eventually trickle down here if they allow it to happen. So we like to look at other countries. We like to say, well, this country is doing this and it looks good. And we like to try to roll that stuff out here. So people don't try to get on here and say that, oh, why are you bringing up other countries? I'm bringing up other countries because you guys like to say other countries doing it, so we should do it. But let's look at what those other countries are doing. People can't eat. Right now in Canada with the truckers, they're literally seizing gas so that they cannot gas their trucks up and continue to protest. Come on, guys. There were in New York, they arrested a 11-year-old girl for being in a museum because she didn't have a vaccine passport. This is the society we want to live in, right? Let me skip down to something that I read. Check this out. When biometric data, that means bodily attributes digitized, are married to the surveillance technology. Look what they called it, guys. See, y'all think I'm making this up. Y'all think I'm making this up. When biometric data, bodily attributes digitized, are married to surveillance technology, both the potential for profit and the ambitions of the techno-futurists inflate without limits. I hope that didn't go into you guys' head if you guys couldn't follow that. So basically, let me say that in layman's terms for the people who are like me. Basically, once they get your biometrics, they'll be able to stop you from getting certain things. Not just by a passport, but they can track you just by your heat signature walking in something. They can track you just by your DNA. All kind of it inflates. It says right here, the ambitions of the techno-futurists inflate without technology is going to control everything you can and can't do. Not you. Not even the government. Technology will. So if somebody sees that you don't have this, you might need a life-changing surgery, but you don't have a vaccine passport. Think they already doing that? Later on, it's going to be, oh, you're a registered Republican. You can't go there. Oh, you're a Democrat or a liberal. You can't do this. Oh, you're a Christian. You can't go. We got to report you. You can't believe in Christianity. You can't believe in Islam. You can't believe in Buddhism. That's against the law. And according to this data here, you've been doing Christian stuff because they're tracking you. They're tracking everything you do. Watch this. One industry analyst predicts the global biometric market will grow 15% annually, reaching a $105 billion price tag by 2018. Wow, that's something people should be investing in if y'all want to make some money. Biometrics. But you didn't get that from me. I'm not a stock advisor. Let me scroll down. Now, this person says, I have no beef with data collection per se. Data are the lifeblood of what Michael, I don't even know this person's name, can't even say it, called the biopolitical state. So think about what they're trying to make, a biopolitical state. That has so many implications. They want to have a biopolitical state, right? Which governments, by maximizing life and sustaining population, which governments by maximizing life and sustaining populations. Now that's a two-edged sword, guys. Because people could say, in order to sustain our population, we need to depopulate because we're the environmental, because of global warming, and we're overpopulated, rather than by threatening violence and imposing death, as early regimes have done. See how this technology can lead to the demise? Biometrics, vaccine passports. So if you don't comply, then we can say that you're a terrorist. We can say that you're not a citizen. We can say that you're not this, and we can justify taking you out. Not only that, we can justify giving you medical treatment when you need it. But if you don't have these things, you can't get it. If my data is not registered with the government, I can't get certain things. Or the biopolitical state. Who's monitoring? Who's running this biopolitical state? Because this is what people are saying, guys. This is what people are working toward. While we over here fighting over racism, these people don't care. Black, white, Mexican, Asian. They finna take people's lives. But you're worried about some racism that doesn't really affect anything. And it talks about here, there one sentence right here. Similarly, prevention and cure can look a lot like discipline and punishment. Similarly, prevention and cure can look like a lot like discipline and punishment. I just said that. They can use these things to prevent something or cure something, or use it like a punishment, like, oh, we're not giving it to you. I just said that. I'm gonna scroll down because I don't want to get too much into the So it says securing the borders is about fear. The actions of fear is to restrict movement. Right? Take that quote into mind. Securing borders is all about fear. And the action of fear is to restrict movements. This is what this person believes. Right? So passports have everything to do with borders. This is what they're saying. They're trying to equate the fact that people want borders to protect the country and to make sure that people are doing things right, to we being fearful. And then not only being fearful, you want to equate now, these are people who don't believe in borders. Now I want to say that these are like borders. If they are like borders, then why are you advocating for it? You see how these things don't make sense? When you really start digging into what the left really wants, the stuff don't make sense, because they'll equate to stuff that they don't like, but then advocate for it. This is like this, even though I don't like borders at the border, preventing drug trafficking and sex trafficking over the border, but passports are like borders, but we want these type of borders. Stop it. Stop it, guys. Stop it. I've never met somebody on the left who actually knows what they want. It's always contradictory. They always say one thing, but not, and then they get mad at people on the right or conservatives for being consistent in what they don't want and do want. And saying, oh, you guys are dogmatic and repressive because y'all are consistent. You don't want this, right, in any aspect of life. I don't equate vaccine passports as borders. I equate that as citizen papers, right? Check this out. And let me read this one last line, and I'm gonna end this segment. We are going to be living in a pandemic society for the rest of our lives. This is a prediction from S. Coffier, the historian. Coffier, S. Coffier. That's ESCOFFIER. If y'all want to go look him up. What does this mean politically? I wonder. Can public health kill public life? Of course. When we allow our government and our public health officials to dictate how we should react in society because of something healthy instead of doing what we've been doing, which is honoring the Constitution and allowing people to make their own decisions on their health, then we get permanent pandemic society. We get permanent lockdown and control. We get socialism. And eventually we get communism, which eventually leads to tyrannical rule and war. Do I got to say that again for the people in the back? Yeah, y'all might say that, oh, Chris, this is too deep. You being too deep. You being too deep about it. No, I'm not being too deep about this. There is nothing in this world that our government does by happenstance. Nothing. These things are well planned out. Last year, and not last year, but in 2020, I did a whole video on what the World Economic Forum was planning for just this country. It literally said on the website the 50-year plan for America. And part of that plan had COVID-19 on it. That made me suspicious of COVID-19. That plan had civil unrest. This is what made me suspicious about the BLM riots. This was written on their page. These people are not just doing things. These things are just not randomly happening. If you believe that, knowing the Tuskegee Airmen situation, when they were experimenting on them, the AIDS epidemic, how that got out, all this information finding out that these people plant this stuff, and we still believe that none of this stuff that is going on is part of a bigger plan. Wake up, people. Wake up. Wake up. We are losing our freedoms. We're losing our liberty, our autonomy, because there are people who are just pure evil and want to control life and death. And that's evil. Nobody has a right to control your life, your death, your health. You can eat what you want. You should be able to take the medicines that you want. And vice versa, not take them. We'll be back after this. Okay. Welcome to Dating Chris. I have something to say real quick, and I won't be before you long. That's what we say in the church. Before you long. Again, I love bringing advice and things that I've learned to help people better their relationships with their friends, their loved ones, their spouses, mainly their spouses. This is why I say Dating Chris. It's all about relationships. You know, everything's not going to be about dating, but that's just the name of the show, right? So here is my thought of the day for this. You shouldn't allow your hurts to consume your dating life and how you respond to your love interest. Your hurt is not the fault of the other person. And this is for men and women. I don't want y'all to think I'm picking on one side. I'm going to say it again. Your hurt is not the fault of the other person. It's your fault. Now track with me. Let me explain. We get into relationships, and I'm not going to say we always know what's going to happen in our relationships, but we get in relationships knowing the type of person that we're getting in a relationship with. A lot of times we ignore it. It's called the red flags. It's all the stuff that you saw, but then, you were just so caught up because either y'all had sexual relations or you just caught up because you had this euphoria moment. Oh, he's fine. He got money. Whatever it is that made you ignore the red flags. You knew when you saw the red flags what type of person you were getting with. Here's the funny thing. Like in my life of dating, I've always known the type of person after 3 dates. And sometimes I was willing to stick around a little longer just to see if that thing would change. Now, mind you, I never forced anyone to change. I never asked them to change who they are because it's not my job to change the person that I'm trying to be with. It's that person's job to learn who I am and say, am I willing to change this behavior? Because I see that he or she does not like what I'm doing here. He did complain about that. Shall I change it about myself? And it's my job to say, can I tolerate that if that never changes? See, these mindsets help keep me from getting hurt, right? Hurt. Now, mind you, you can't prevent feelings from being hurt. We all have feelings. I have feelings. When I was married before when my wife left, my ex-wife left, and we did not leave on bad terms. It was just a choice she made for herself. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about me being a bad husband. We had this talk. It was just like, she was like, I really don't want this life. And I respected her for it. And to this day, we are very friendly. We're cordial. She is still my friend. Love her to death. She loves me to death. Yes, I was hurt by that. I'm sure she had some feelings as well. But I didn't allow that hurt to dictate how I treat the next woman. Now, mind you, we do learn from all of our situations. So we set standards within ourselves. And you can say that affects the other person, but not really, because the other person is meeting you after you had an experience. What I mean by allowing the hurt from somebody else to affect your current relationship is saying that if somebody beats you and then you assume that this new person is going to beat you and you start treating that person like, oh, you're going to beat me, and you keep arguing with it or causing issues that because you think you're going to get beat. That's what I'm talking about. Take ownership for your hurt because you knew what type of person you were with. You stayed with the person. You dated the person. You made excuses for the bad behavior. I'm not taking away from the person who hurt you because, yes, what that person did was wrong. But so what? You stayed with it. You lived with it, and you made excuses for it. So therefore, the initial wrong may have been that person's fault. But after that, once it's common knowledge that this is what's happening, it becomes your fault. Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, shame on me. This is what I mean by not allowing your hurts to consume your dating life and dictate how you respond to your love interest. Because it's not fair. Some of us can't even get over these hurts because we're continually blaming the last person you were with. Look, that person was a dog. You knew he was. So why are you hurt over it? I always, and even when I talk to a lot of these women that I used to go on dates with off these dating apps, it's always this, well, men do this and men do that and men do this. When women do that to me, it lets me know that they're not ready for a relationship. And I quickly exit. And then they get mad because I ghost them, or they get mad. And now, mind you, I did the last show about ghosting. At the time, I was ghosting, but, I learned from that. but I wouldn't pursue it no more, because what you don't realize is that what comes out of your mouth tells a man. You can say the man couldn't handle me. This is one of the things that I really can't stand, when women and men, they make it seem like they're just this total prize. You're not the prize. With a real man, I'm not talking about a boy. I'm not talking about these older men who still trying to think they got it. I'm talking about a real man who's looking for a real wife. You're both the prize. He's pursuing you, but you also have to pursue him. He's trying to make sure you know that he is worth it. You, as a woman, have to make sure that that man knows that you're worth it. The only way to do that is stop judging every man by the last man that you picked. You picked him. He did something wrong. You stayed with him. You made excuses to him. And now you're hurt. Again, you can't help not being hurt. But you better understand that hurt is 80% your fault. Because once somebody does something that you cannot tolerate, you either address it and say, hey, this ain't what I'm liking. If it continues, then you need to make the decision to leave. I don't sit in any relationship anymore that I know that I cannot deal with what's going on in it. It keeps me safe from being hurt. It keeps me from having an unhappy life. It keeps me from being bitter, and it keeps me in a space where I can treat others like I treat myself. You should do the same. We'll be back after this. Now it's time for my favorite part of the day. It's the social media post of today. I found this TikTok just the other day, and it features one of my favorite comedians. I actually followed him on Facebook a while ago, which is now Meta. But I found his TikTok page, which I'm happy about. So this person I don't normally agree with everything he says, because he does some type of commentation every once in a while on his Facebook page. But I don't always agree with him. But on this point, I do kind of agree with him. I ain't going to say kind of. I do. Because I think this is funny. This is something I've been saying a while that people don't want to admit, especially in my community. So it might trigger you, but that's what we're here for. That's what we do on Talk of the Block. We trigger. So let's take a look at this video.
They say Reagan flooded the community with drugs. That's a terrible thing. But then we asked the Democrats to do something about it.
What'd they do?
They locked up everybody who sold drugs and left the crackheads to raise the community.
That's funny. Tell me that's
Thank
not
you,
true.
Democrats.
Yeah, some
And this
people
is
ain't
the
gonna find
funny
that
part. The person who wrote the bill for all of the locking up is the nigga you asking us to vote for now.
Exactly.
Which is hilarious that you say the Republicans didn't do anything, when in fact, as terrible as Donald Trump is, he made it so that all of those people who were locked up were able to vote again, giving us voting power again.
Now I'm surprised
all those people who had felonies that could not vote can now vote again, and they voted for the nigga who put them in prison.
And they say Trump didn't do nothing for the black
community. Good job, black community.
I thought that video was pretty well placed. And it's because people thought that Trump didn't do anything for the black community. And I'm glad that others are starting to realize that he actually did something. Like, here, guys, I don't care whether you like him or not. I'm not one of those people like, I don't like him because he did. I don't do that stuff. I'm not with that with Biden either. I don't go around. I don't like Biden. I don't even know Biden. I don't like his actions. I don't like certain people's actions, but whether I like the person or not, I don't care. You know, whether he's racist or not, I don't care. What I'm saying is this. All you guys say he didn't do anything, and he did. These are real facts that people don't want to admit in today's time. And I'm not understanding why we can have so much evidence out there, throw it in your face, show you video after video of people talking about it, as well as showing the actual videos that these people have done or not done, and you're going to say the opposite of what we're looking at, that is evidence. Like, come on, guys. We cannot live in this world being disillusioned. Or I should say we shouldn't be living in illusion. We should be living in a real society where things actually happen. What is? Is it or isn't? These things happen no matter how bad you don't want them to happen, no matter how much you want Biden to look like he's a great guy. That man is not doing a good job. And the man that we got rid of out of office, he did some good things. Now, there's no perfect president. All of them have good, all of them have bad. So we're not going to go there because I don't do that. But I'm just saying, let's start living in reality, y'all. I'll be back after this. And we're back. Man, when I tell you this COVID-19 coronavirus is a serious topic, and we need to really do some serious research and come to a conclusion of what we need to be doing as America. But in closing, COVID-19 is a real virus, and we should all take it seriously. By staying home when you're sick and nursing yourself as your body dictates, as we all have done it in the past. And I said, as your body dictates on purpose, because I believe that we should be able to have our own choices when it comes to medical treatment. No matter what the virus is, no matter what the sickness is. There is no one size fit all miracle cure. And we should never allow our government or anyone for that fact to monopolize what works for you, me, and your body. That is your job. That is my job. Even when I go to the hospital, our doctors recommend what we should do, and we make the ultimate decision on what should be done with our health. Some of us may need the vaccine. So if you do, go get it. But get it with knowledge. Get it knowingly, knowing what's in the stuff. Some of us don't need it. And maybe chicken noodle soup will suffice. And that's okay too. Ivermectin, horse pills, horse dewormer. If it works for you, that's okay too. Nobody can tell you what works for your body. You know your body. You know what it feels like. You've been living in it since you've been born. You know what your body needs. You know what your body don't need. When we start infringing on others with what we think and what they should do, we cause division. People don't like to be told what they have to do, or even be threatened if they don't do it. We like suggestions. And we like the freedom to choose what we do, and no one has to like it. I go by the old adage, treat others like you want to be treated. And that's my show. And we out here in these streets. We out here in these streets.